He's trying a thing. Unfortunately, that thing is putting a hat over headphones.
Yes,
Very unfortunate.
This is how I've been doing it for a long time. Go back and check our last recordings. Like, where have you guys been?
The question is, do you wear that hat while you also work?
Sometimes
during the day.
Yeah, sometimes I do.
I thought the hat was normal, but you had like either earbuds or speakers. I think it's the headphones that are new.
No, hold on. I think I might actually, now that you mention it, it's been a while.
There it is. That looks more normal.
That looks more normal. It also feels better too. I was wondering how I did that. I just forgot about it till you mentioned it.
That looks way better.
We're a little out of practice here.
We were just like pulling it down, like, this hat used to fit so nicely.
Welcome to IT Reality. I'm your host, H-Town Vinny.
And I'm Richard Kenyon.
And I'm Nathan Bennett.
With over 4 decades of combined IT operational experience,
we may have an opinion.
Or not.
And now on with the show.
Let's go!
I just noticed Nate signed in with a different name. Nate Doggy Dog.
That's how I roll now. I came back to ITR. I was like, it's a new me, man. It's a new me. New recording.
I hope you...
I'm drinking wine now. I'm sophisticated.
What kind of wine?
Okay, now I'm just scared.
What kind of wine? Red kind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not that sophisticated. Don't go too far with me.
And there's the Nathan we know.
Yeah. What kind of wine? I don't know. It's red. It's got food dye in it. It's just red. It's red. I don't care.
It tastes good, and my wife gave it to me, so I'm going to drink it.
Exactly. That is the truth. That is what everybody kind of falls into, which is like, hey, there is alcohol that my wife is drinking. I will drink it with her. And then, that you start finding some interesting new flavors of things out there.
See, that's how life happens, but I'm not so sure it's always a good thing. That the life thing is messy. ITR is neat and organized and structured. At least we try to be, even though Nathan takes us down rabbit holes. But life is messy.
I love that y'all always come up with an agenda, and Richard is like studying hard before we start recording. I just like come in here like a bull in a china shop, and I'm like, "Hey guys, what's going on?"
That's our stick. Water. Oh, that's our stick. Oh. But there's been a couple of changes since we last released a full episode, a detailed episode. I'm in a different state, I think, since the last time we recorded. Nathan's still stuck in DFW. Richard's
I'm in a distributed firewall, everyone. Please make some ACL so that I can be let out.
I don't know where that was going. But I'm now in Tennessee, for anybody who cares.
He left Nathan and came to me closer. So just to give you a perspective.
Well, I tried, but I only got about halfway.
It's all right. It's arm distance.
Nathan, that's so he can get rid of me if I start getting too close.
That's all right.
Punch me back halfway. Oh, man.
Unfortunately, Richard doesn't know that Houston and Dallas-Fort Worth are not the same. Like, to him, they're like, oh, it's like a 30-minute drive from town to town. It's like, no, so like 4 hours.
Yeah.
As I've done that drive way too many times, I can agree with you.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
You're in the same state. It's like
that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
From where I'm living now, I can get in my truck, and in about 50 to 55 minutes, I can be in 2 different states. And if I extend that to, say, an hour and a half, that adds 1, maybe 2 more. And if I extend that range out to the full 4 hours that was Houston to Dallas, I can be at about 7 states from where I sit right now. That's how thin Caitlin's former state is.
It's the frying pan.
She had to go and leave the state for, I guess, family reasons. But yeah, the depending on how you want to look at it, the frying pan or the belt, or
Just like our agenda review. See, that's a segue.
well, we kind of had our agenda written for us.
Wait, the bull's going to come in real quickly. It's like I have to say something about the distance. It's like Richard, who lives in Buffalo. It's like, oh yeah, it's just like a quick trip to the city, right? It's New York City. That's not long, right? Same state.
8.5 hours away.
Oh, you're
He
fine.
just made his point.
Thank you, sir. So about that agenda.
Corey, just so you know, it's been a while since we've done this due to life circumstances, so we are very happy to be in each other's company and getting kicked in the butt to actually start this back up again. So
we appreciate the shove. It's required sometimes.
yeah.
So there's this conference coming up that we all have a favorable opinion of. We're gonna say it one time, guys, and then we're gonna use what we all know moving forward. VMware Explore 2023. It's coming up
in Las Vegas.
Some of us know it by another name.
Yep.
Yeah, in person. Huge deal.
In person in Las Vegas.
VMware Explore is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, we mentioned it in passing, but can we just say, thank goodness we're back in Vegas. I mean, I'm going to miss the bird in San Francisco. I think everybody that is a San Franciscan, I give up.
San Franian.
San Franian. I mean, they all would agree. I mean, like the bird is fantastic. So that's the only thing that I'm going to be sad. And I am not a Vegas person. I actually really don't enjoy Vegas, but I'm actually very excited that this is in Vegas. If anyone's ever gone to like AWS reInvent, you kind of appreciate having a smaller, like centric conference where you don't have to walk 3 miles just to get to individual places. So this is looking very good. I'm very excited about it, and this is going to be a good recording, and we're going to have some fun there.
Yeah, Vegas seems to be the new conference center that has sprung up. Not new, but it's been around a long time. But it's now a lot of the contracts in the different cities across the United States have been migrating to Vegas for a number of reasons. It's got fantastic location, flights to it are cheap, hotels are incredibly
really
inexpensive compared to, in our case, San Francisco, which was just outrageously expensive for anybody. Flights were outrageously expensive if you were coming from the East Coast. I know Silicon Valley's in, the San Francisco area. I know that there's the entire tech headquarters of our entire industry is Silicon Valley, but it just made travel so difficult for almost anybody that wasn't in California. The prices were outrageous, and it just makes good financial sense for everybody else who comes other than the groups that live there. So it's been very nice, and I love Vegas. It's fantastic. Everything is centrally located. You can get to anything anywhere. It's designed to be easily navigatable. It's inexpensive. That term's going to come up a lot. And I love having the conference in one spot. It's just so great because all the food is there. All the amenities are there. You can have your hotel in it. You can choose not to. And if you want to go the vacation route afterwards, you are more than welcome to do that. There's tons of stuff to do. The heat I enjoy. It's like an oven. People are like, it's too hot. No, it's not, because you've never experienced humidity. So be quiet.
We are on the polar opposites. Like, how are we even on this? Because I mean, like, do you enjoy being chased by 60-year-old women trying to act like they're 20 and they're in their 20s? Where are you going, Daddy? Come back here. Like, I'm sorry, it's not for me, man.
So you're talking about San Francisco, right? Because there were some other things in San Francisco that nobody wanted to be a part of anymore.
Fair point. All right, everything's fair play. So I want to throw, that as the bull in the China shop. Can we just talk about like what's our first memories of going to VMware? Like the first time you went to VMware Explore. What do you remember? Like, I know for myself, it was VMworld 2019, my first VMware Explore, and I remember it's my first time being in Vegas, first time all those things, right? And I remember just being absolutely dumbfounded by the size. I remember it was just, I felt like there was so much to do and so many things that I could just like dive into. I felt like a kid in a candy shop. And I also felt like someone who had been starving for years that had finally found food.
That's a
And
great point. I'm going to jump off that because you're just going to keep going. So, starving for food, the level of knowledge that I walked into at my first VM World in 2013 in San Francisco was mind blowing to a person at that time who was kind of a quarter of the way through their IT career. I had figured out what I wanted to do. I had figured out what I'm good at. I was just about to move up to a different job position at that general time frame, and I walked in, and it was like the holy grail that I had been missing in my IT career. Just the direct access to knowledge, not only at the VMware level, at the industry level, storage, networking, security, a little bit of security at the time, but the big ones were storage and networking at the time. All of the different other players that are partners of VMware that make the entire ecosystem function. I literally walked into the holy grail of, at the time, for me, IT knowledge. And that's what I first remember. It was like, wow, I am intellectually starved, and this is now going to feed that for, till today, still going on.
So my first VMware Explore experience, I see that, Nathan. Mine was in San Francisco in 2019. Ironically, the year I meet Richard, I run into him sit down next to him at VMUG Leader Summit, and then same year, maybe thereabouts, run into him at VMware Explore. But the San Francisco one was my first. So Nathan's point about Vegas aspects, I didn't experience that and tie that experience with VMware. For me, I tied that experience with a whole lot of other stuff, but not VMware. My VMware beginnings for in-person conference was all in San Francisco, either at HQ or Moscone. I really liked the layout of Moscone, the fact that you could stand on one corner and go between two buildings, and it was everything in one stack, and another stack over here. I actually saw my fastest speed test on a cell phone standing at that corner between the two Moscone buildings, just by chance. I don't know why that corner was so well lit up with cell signal, but it was. So I don't know. I think we have varying beginnings for this topic.
Well, let's hop into the next segment that we wanted to get to in the agenda. And how did I jump on the agenda? But let's just go with it. We have different roles now, I guess. So the question that we have in front of us is, how did VMware Explore? How has that, or how? Let's just put it this way: how has this VMware conference that we all know and love and have loved for years, how has it helped us in our career? I'll kick off mine first because I have the mic, so why not? So for me, my first VM. Yeah, yikes. So for me, I was in a operations job, something that I think every one of our listeners can probably think of themselves in, and I wanted something better. I've never been the type of person that believes that my career needs to be controlled by someone else. I am in control of my career, and I really wanted to go to this conference, to the VMware conference, because I knew that if I went there, I would start connecting with people who were like-minded, who had that same perspective in terms of how do you grow your career? How do you take control of what you know and be able to put that in front of other people in order to grow followings, in order to grow understandings, and more importantly, in order to grow myself, right? Because we are all stronger together than we are separate. And if you want to go, what's the saying? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I may have got those mixed up, whichever. But that's the idea. If you want to keep going and you want to go as far in your career as possible, you're going to need assistance and help, and you need to find people that are willing to help you. VMware Explore or VMworld, whatever way you want to call it, VMware Explore now was that conference. I found so many different people. I found Cody DeArkland, the gentle giant, who is still to this day, I like to call my friend. I found a number of other people around the, automation standpoint, because that's what I did. I did automation. And I got to learn about all these different things. I started when I went to VMworld, I did PowerShell as an automation. That was all I knew. Now I know all of these other tool sets, right? And I got to start in one area and then grow from that into multiple other areas. And here's the kicker. I didn't do it by just meeting people. I did it by listening to people. It's that old thing that all of our moms tell us. You have one mouth and two ears. So listen twice as much as you speak. Hearing what people did and how people accomplished their careers in order to get to where, at the time, I wanted to work at VMware. I think a lot of people do at some point in their career, or have a specific area where they want to go work. I was able to listen to how they got into VMware, or how they grew their career, or how they, learned different things. And I started piecing together a pathway for me to get to where I wanted to go. Now, I think but basically for me, that was the first step. And it was a giant leap forward that I never was able to get to if I hadn't gone to that conference. So that's for me where it really kind of gave me a bit of rocket fuel to my career. Vince, Richard, what do you guys think in terms of how did
I'm going to
VMware
jump into
Explore?
the first part of
Go ahead,
your
bud.
story there. And when I first went to VMworld, I wrote down on one of the community whiteboards. I don't remember if it was for VMUG or if it was for one of the vendors that were doing something. It was more like the community driven event. Hey, come and write something down and you'll remember it, yada yada yada. And I remember writing down, VMware turned my job into a career. And I have been saying that to myself almost on a weekly basis for as long as I have been part of the V community, because my story is
I know where you
interesting.
wrote it.
Yep. So I have a picture of it too. I actually think it was on Jason Bosch's website too. He showed a picture of it and had a contest on it. But please, I hope I'm remembering his name right. So I remember being a customer when I first went. The next year, I was a VMUG leader. The year after that, I was a V expert. The year after that, I was a VMUG leader who was a V expert, who went to the Leaders Summit, who then was able to liaison with all of the engineering in the background because I did all the design of networking and feedback sessions that VMware had offered me because of those things. And then the year after that, I was a vendor relation. So it kept growing. And then the year after that, I was podcasting with Nathan. So it just kept growing, that every time I've went to the conference, it's been something a little different from how I've experienced it. But circling back to what Nathan said about growing your own network to move forward in your career, everybody that I know that is now actually good friends, I can name, more friends now that I have than I ever did back in high school. And it is amazing because it's that unit that helps you move along. I wouldn't have this job if I didn't get advice from some of the other people in my local community. I wouldn't have had the job before this one if I didn't have the advice for some of the people that I had spoken to at some VMworld events about, hey, do you want to go work for a large multinational vendor? And I wouldn't have had the job, or I wouldn't have done the job I had prior to that had I not met all of the folks that I had and grew my community. So you are definitely in control of your career, not only at the position you're in, but 5 to 10 years down the line, meeting all of these people who are like-minded as yourself. So that is how VMware Explorer / World has helped my career, is it's given it a direction. So I'm going to let Vince go now, because Nathan and I have just keep talking over and over until somebody stops us or hits mute.
I love that I can set y'all off on a path and just sit back and just watch the train go. Like, there it goes. It'll come back around. I'll be able to hop back on. Be all right. So
we're getting better at it. We've figured out how long we need to talk, and that's like, okay, now it's time for the next train.
We have measured the track distance. But keeping this train moving, the theme that I've noticed in both your stories and as I was listening, thinking about it, it aligns with mine, is that it's a conference that leads to growth. Whether it's growth within you and your skills, example, Nathan, when Nathan and I first connected, he was working on some vRealize suite or vRealize automation stuff. And I had just picked up interest in vRealize suite and was like, hey, Nathan, how did you do this? And we had no professional connection. We had a very, very beginning friendship connection, but through I'm assuming it was one of the chat channels or Slack or something. Somehow we got connected, and actually, you know what? I know what it was. DFW VMUG. That's what connected us. But lo and behold, I just called him one afternoon. He's like, "Hey, I'm working on this. You got 20 minutes?" And then we were on a Zoom or whatever it was for an hour talking about vRealize Suite stuff, which now is got a really neat name. But we'll come back to the session stuff in a few moments. So that was Nathan's growth, and I've seen it from afar the last few years. Richard, you talked about the career growth and actually moving through your career from place to place to place. Whatever. What's interesting, my growth aspect has been completely on the connection side and what that has, how that has helped me along the way. I'm very much one of those people that unless I'm in this kind of context or I have a reason to go to a conference, whatever, I will stay by myself and not connect with people. I keep to myself. But going to VMware Explore and connecting with you guys and others has meant that when the layoff banhammer comes around, I've been able to reach out to those connections and say, hey, I'm looking for something new. You know of anything? So you may learn something at VMware Explore. You may make some new friends, some long-term connections, commitments. You may get a new job as a result of it, or you may have the ability to lean on those friendships down the line. It's a growth thing. It's not a technology. Yeah, that's sure. There's technology there, but the results are much more than that. From the first experience to the eighth experience, whatever it is for Richard. It's hard to tell when Commander Data doesn't age. Would you agree, Nathan?
He's like Keanu Reeves. I don't like it.
I just shaved the other day too, so it's not quite the double take that. But
I don't know if this is video, but how can you say you shaved? How? You are the shadowy shadow of shadow face.
I shaved this morning, and
okay. Someone give him a gold star.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. So guys, I got to ask this question.
Okay, Jersey.
With the new, I mean, like I am wearing this shirt, right? I'm repping the shirt that I got last year, right? Cross cloud services. I know what my answer is, but what is all of y'all's answer to
the Texans coming up?
Yeah, the content catalog. What stuff that's going on in VMware Explorer are you guys excited about?
I have already pulled this up. Anytime Frank Denneman speaks, it's just you have to listen. You cannot understand what he says from a topic standpoint,
or his mini me.
Yeah, or you can not understand the topic in general. He is such a clear and articulate speaker about the topics that he has been able to, present at VMworld on, that I then go and research that topic and end up on his blog because it just kind of circles that back. So he's got two sessions this year. He's got 60 minutes of NUMA, and he's got his kind of what he's been focusing on lately, and it's the machine learning accelerator deep dive. And I know very little about machine learning, how AI is coming to be with all of the massive, things that are coming out like Chat GTP, Bard, all of those things, and how VMware is utilizing machine learning to better their product in the future. No clue other than what I just said. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it operates. I don't know anything. But I will know that when I leave Frank's session, I will at least understand the keywords, even though he's doing a deep dive, and then I can go back and look at things later and learn about them. That's what I'm super excited about, because it's a topic I have no idea about, being presented by a person who can articulate complex topics very well. That's my answer to that.
I have to disagree with your statement that you'll at least know something. When you leave the room after he stops talking, you'll know quite a bit more than you really need to know on that topic. And my example of that is go sit in that 60 minutes of NUMA presentation and then go do a VM admin job anywhere. And I guarantee you, you will find someone has screwed it up because they did not understand the concepts in that session.
Yeah, his session is one of those that you want to take a notepad and like take notes.
Yep.
As fast as possible. Thank you to recordings.
Yep. Yeah, recordings and video has made our lives much easier. But yeah, he wore through, I think, an entire pen of ink the first time I sat in one of his sessions. I just kept writing topics down.
His twin's pretty good too. Well, I call him his twin, but they're always found together. If you find Frank, you're probably going to find Duncan Epping. They're somewhere nearby. They don't get very far from each other. So any session with those two names, I would highly recommend. My focus this year when it comes to sessions is stuff to do with Cloud Director, NSX, Aria operations, those type of topics. The product formerly known as vRealize Log Insight was amazing the first time I saw it. And the first time I saw it was actually run off of a laptop that another Houston-based VMware employee, or he used to be, I don't know if he still is, was able to fire up on a laptop and run Log Insight. The ability to correlate and sort and sift through operations using Log Insight, now Aria operations for log. I had it here somewhere. That product's amazing. And one of the challenges that I'm dealing with right now professionally is that we have 90 different things all over the place, and none of them are all talking to a single source of truth as far as logging goes. So when you need to go look for something, it's a challenge to try to figure out, is it over here in that system or is it in that system? Which monitor I need to be looking at? It's a challenge. So those are the type of challenges that I'm looking to find some guidance on. I'm not naive in thinking that I'm going to go to VMware Explore and I'm going to just get the answer. It's going to be an investigation path, but some little guidance along the way. And then I think what we're all really excited about is going to be that the Solutions Exchange, the social time, because we've been apart far too long. Agree? Disagree?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you weren't able to make it the last at VMware Explore, or else we would have had a lot of it. It would have been a little bit more interesting to do those recordings, but we could have done it. But
I did see them.
Let's keep moving along the content catalog here. So what's the next one that everybody's interested in?
Yes, Mom. Sorry. So the one that I'm interested in is I'm wearing cross cloud services. My role right now is just about being just cloud, right? So I'm the cloud practice lead. So I deal with all the different cloud providers and all the different things. It's really difficult. The most difficult things if you're doing multi-cloud is like stitching them together. There's a ton of third-party applications and vendors that are out there, but it's a really awesome product that was built just to stitch those things together. Something called NSX, and they've got this project called Project NorthStar. I don't know if anyone's ever dug into it, but Project NorthStar has a lot of different capabilities into stitching together multi-cloud areas. And of course, there's different pieces within it. I don't know a ton about Project NorthStar, but every time they bring it up, it gets my attention, right? Because at the end of the day, someone in AWS wants to figure out how to use a service in Azure, and someone in Azure wants to figure out how to use a service in AWS, or vice versa. And it just becomes this thing where we're happy in our cloud for our core solutions, but there's this one offset solution that another cloud uses that we just need to start utilizing. So how do we create that network? Tons of different ways of doing it. None of them are easy. And so anything that creates that type of connection, I'm all about. So if one thing I do want to talk about in the content catalog is just how to find these things, right? Because it can be a little difficult. So if you open up the content catalog, you want to go into the filters on the left and you want to try to find how you want to look through these sessions. Me, I'm a product guy. So I go to products and I expand that one down and I start looking through what are the products out there. That's how I know that there's sessions on Project NorthStar. But if you're someone who wants to just say, I don't know much of the products, go to the track and see if, under cloud and edge infrastructure, maybe that's your jam. Maybe it's modern application, that whole Kubernetes stuff.
Yep. Now this is a good pivot into if this is your first or even second, third time at VMworld and VMware Explore. It's gonna take a long time, folks. If this is your first, second, or third time at VMware Explore, you're still building out your career network. You're still trying to find your feet in where you want to live in the VMware ecosystem. Nathan's suggestion is absolutely perfect. You check the products, you search by some topics that you want to do. But as you get a little more into the conference scene, you'll start.
Nathan, did we lose him?
That sounded like it was going to be perfect.
The people who present which topics. So even though I know nothing about machine learning, I'll just go watch Frank all day because I learned so much from him. As same with the other higher end executives at VMware. Duncan's one of them. And then you'll notice a lot of the bloggers have sessions. William Lamb has one. And there's a few others too that are there. Nobody has beaten Kyle Ruddy's record of, I think, 13 sessions in 1 year yet. But because he was so hardcore into Power CLI for a while, you could pick him, and anything that you see that comes up would probably relate to the topic that you're looking for. So it depends on how long you've been here and how many different people you know in your network based on how you want to do your content catalog. And then, of course, the work stuff that you want to learn, because that's kind of important.
And one of the greatest things about this whole thing is that there will still, after however many days you're there consuming content, there will still be some mystery, kind of like the few snippets of audio that we lost from Richard when he disconnected from the conference there for a few seconds. But our audience will have to try to figure out the 30 or 300 words you said while you disconnected, but it'll be all right.
It was the best part of his whole speech was those moments. One thing I do want to bring up is to focus on the session type. If you're a swag hag like I am, I like getting my t-shirts and all of the fancy little water bottles. I have like a bazillion of them. And you get into VMware and it says, hey, attend a number of keynotes. It's like, oh, well, what's a keynote session? And then you can hop into the session type and find what keynote sessions are out there, or hands-on labs, or specific talks that directly affect what you're actually trying to find in what you're trying to dig into. Like, for instance, VMware Code. Like, say if you're a developer or an automation person, you live in code, look at the code sessions. Those are some of the best talks out there that, a lot of people don't talk about. They're pretty short, but at the end of the day, I've never gone to one of those and left being like, well, I knew everything they were talking about. I've always found something really awesome to learn.
And on that note, if you found something awesome, what's your awesome VMware Explorer experience? A quick short story. Let's see if we can keep these quick, happy,
got it,
and under 2 minutes. Because I've got one, and I know Nathan has one.
I got mine easy because you were right across the table when it happened. So we were getting ready to record one of our YouTube videos from last VMware Explore, and some stranger came up to me and said, hey, are you Nathan Bennett? And I absolutely was floored. I was like, well, first I was floored because I thought I was going to jail, but I kind of turned to him and I said, yes, I am. And he said, did you do a talk in Seattle about imposter syndrome? And I said, yes, I did. He said, dude, that really helped me. And it wasn't something that like changed his life or anything, but he was just like, I really appreciated what you said. That really helped me kind of understand a little bit more about my struggles and understand a little bit better about how to deal with those things. That will always probably be my favorite memory of VMware Explore.
And
Go ahead, Richard.
While my story isn't as emotionally impactful as that one, it is framed similarly. I don't quite remember the years, but the framing is I had a TAM at the time. I went to one of the VMware conferences, and I was on the TAM Day, which is the event that used to take place right before the conference kicked off. And we got to speak with people who actually designed the product. Actually, were the code writers, the engineers, and the people who did the product teams and things like that. Folks that you normally don't have access to. So one of those people I found was the UI UX engineer of the new at the time HTML5 client, and I was quite blunt with him, and I said, "Listen, people take in data in a table format, just like they do Excel. One of the first things that anybody does when they're given a large amount of data in an Excel format in a table is sort the damn thing. And right now, your product does not do that. And it's very difficult to bring in visually, mentally, a lot of data all at once every single time I'm on a screen." And I said, if you want to make your product better, whenever you present anybody with a table, you make sure I can sort the damn thing. I was upset because it really was difficult to use the HTML5 client in the beginning. It really was. And that was just one simple thing that if they changed it, it would have been fine. He wrote it down. He said, "Wow, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that, but that makes complete sense." And I'm like, "Woohoo, I've done my job for this year's conference," and I went about and had a good conference. The next year, I was walking through the solutions exchange and I get a tap on my shoulder and he goes, "Hey, you Richard Kenyon?" I'm like, "Oh my God, am I going to jail? What's going on?" Like, who knows me? And I turn around and it's the same engineer. And he goes, "Thank you so much for telling us about the columns and the sorting, because as soon as we made that recommendation, it just took off." And I say in every project meeting now that our customers need to be able to sort the data. And it's not obvious that that's what people want, but when you say it, it makes perfect sense. So he goes, "I've been using you as an example for a year." I'm like, "Oh, great." But it got but it yeah, exactly. But it was just funny, and it was quite meaningful to me that something that I had suggested actually was that important, just because I had the ability to speak up and give feedback. So, Vince, your turn.
Well, I would say one of them, well, yeah, the best one was when I went to VMware Explore 2019 San Francisco. I went to the conference with a stack of metal business cards. And I was not a salesman. I had no quota to worry about. I had no reason to get my name out there other than just, I was going and wanted to connect with people. So I had some metal business cards made with my name, contact details, the company I was working for, had the VMware logo laser etched across it. And I took those to the, help me out here, Nathan. What do they call that social area where all the techies were just hanging out?
I always called it the lounge, although that's
I think
not
it's the
really what
hub.
they call it.
Hang
Social
space.
hub, I think.
Hang space.
Anyway, so I went over there to the table that had all the stickers on it, and I just took a stack of like 10 or 12 of these metal business cards and just tossed them out on the table as if they were a sticker. And they apparently got noticed, and they made it from San Francisco, California to Austin, Texas, where the VMware office is. And fast forward a number of months later, I go over to the Austin, Texas office to meet with, I think, an account rep or something, just because I wanted to get out. And lo and behold, someone heard me and heard the account person, say my name. And they popped their head up and said, "Are you Vince Wood that worked at this such and such company?" And I said, "Yeah." And she reaches over and she grabs my business card and holds it up. She didn't know who I was. She just somehow that business card made it to her desk in Austin, Texas. And so from that point, I started getting connections on Twitter from people because this business card kept floating around the desk in Austin, Texas. So the reason why I say that's one of my favorite memories is that you won't realize the connections that you're going to make at VMware Explore until quite a ways later. So I think we wrap this conversation up with which event are we most excited about? And that question may be confusing to some, because I'll be honest, it was confusing to me. Um, but what we're talking about here is within the span of time that the conference is going on. Because we got so many different companies with marketing budgets coming together, there ends up being these elaborate get-togethers, parties, meet and greets, social hour, this or that, whatever. Um, and I think there are, I'm struggling for the word, like campfire tales that exist as a result of some of these events. I can think of a few guys that I've podcasted with who there's a trio of them, and if the three of them end up at a conference, there will be stories from their get-togethers, from their events. It's not a matter of if or to what degree. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. Me personally, I'm not a party person. So uh, I'm really looking more towards the dinners, if you call those events, but the intimate conversations with people that I don't get to connect with. What do you
So
guys
I'll
think?
jump in. Yeah. Every time I've gone, I've looked forward to one event from one of the vendors and ended up being very shocked at the other event. And I'm speaking merely from an entertainment standpoint. And the best story that I have regarding that is I was going to one of IBM's events way back, like 7, 8 years ago. And it was just a little dive bar in San Francisco. And I'm like, man, this band, oh my god, it's the Spin Doctors. I didn't think they were still a band, let alone still playing or anything. And there must have been 100 people there, which in relation to the conference at the time was like nothing. But it was good for them because it filled the venue. It had, drinks, it had food, it had tables that you could, kind of talk with people at. And then the Spin Doctors came on. It was the best show, and it is a top 5 conference or top 5 concert for me for my lifetime. It was a nice way to blow off some steam. I met a few people. We got some nice swag. I, made some IBM contacts, which I actually ended up utilizing at my job at the time because they were selling rebranded NetApp N5600s. So it was kind of an all little thing that I wasn't even expecting to do. So when you sometimes are looking at the large event list for your vendors, try to hit ones that you think you're going to make contacts at, and then take the entertainment as a bonus. And that's my advice.
And I think we all have memories about the parties, even though none of us are partiers anymore. We're like, well, we don't go to the party. But I mean, like, I remember when One Republic played at VMware, and that was like, I mean, I love that. Billy Idol, I think, opened for them. And it was like a 1-2 punch of awesomeness. And I had so much fun at that concert. I remember I went to a Cohesity concert where Snoop Dogg was rocking it. And then the Rubrik concert was literally across the street. And then Rubrik had a different one, which, by the way, they're probably still doing it, where there's like a Cohesity and a Rubrik concert on the same night. And you got to pick one. But if y'all haven't gone to VMware Explorer, try to sneakily find where the parties are at. If you go there and you still haven't found the parties, you can go to the booths. They'll probably be like, "Hey, come to the party." But here's my big tip of the day with parties. Drink lots of water, folks. I mean, you will get smashed. It's just going to happen. There are vendors buying drinks. There are parties where there are drinks. They're just throwing booze at you like crazy. So if you're an old guy like me, who's like, it's 7:00, I'm going to my room and going to bed, you probably are safe, right? But if you're one of those night owls that just like to go out and have fun, you are going to have an insane amount of alcohol tossed your direction for freezies, and then you all have problems the next day. That being said, the event that I'm actually most excited about is kind of the learning event. So you heard me talk about how careers is something that I really like about these conferences, taking control of those careers, testing your knowledge, and using something like the Odyssey challenge. I have a really good story from that, because one of the people that I work with, she actually did the Horizon challenge around VMware Horizon. She's incredibly intelligent, probably one of the smartest people that I know, and especially around EUC. But she told the story about how she did the challenge, and it was completely different than anything I'd ever heard before, because I got kicked off before they even got to the first round. But still, what she was able to do and how she was able to like fix the things and go through the challenge, like her perspective just made it so much cooler to me. I mean, she got the Odyssey jacket. She's like, oh, I've got the Leatherman, which is fantastic. I mean, she earned it for sure. But those are events that are really cool. They're kind of a spectator sport as well, if you enjoy watching people do troubleshooting. And if you have that kind of desire to see someone go through something that you may go through at some point, and you may have troubles with those products at some point, that's a great event to go and see.
And to branch off of Odyssey, the last two times they've done it, it's been right outside the hands-on lab portion of the conference. So if you are interested in destroying, learning, uh, being taught to from some of the panelists there, please check out the hands-on labs. You're not going to get any better education at the conference than right there, to be honest with you, because it is all the new labs for the products that have been released, usually at the keynote. It is some products that are being life cycled currently, that are under support, and it's ones that you might not have a chance to play around with even at home, even though most of the hands-on labs are available for free through the VMware Hands-on Labs website. It's right there. And not only is the content amazing, the behind the scenes tour that you can take with the people who have created the environment for the hands-on labs is also a fun IT learning adventure. You can really see the dedication for all of the different teams that are part of VMware making this entire process work. It's a volunteer effort, so you take time out of your different job responsibilities at VMware to be on that team to then build the labs and build different pieces of the infrastructure. It's like an IT school for like an hour and a half. It's fantastic. So that's another event that I've always really, really interested in whenever I go.
And that part doesn't cost you anything else. Once you've paid for
All
access
inclusive.
into the conference, it's all there. Yes, the conference is expensive, but the travel is not, thanks to Vegas. So get there. I think we should make a special challenge for anyone who listens to this. And that is, if they can find us at VMware Explore, the three of us will have an IT reality tchotchke for them. You guys want to see how many people actually come find us?
I don't know if my feelings want to be hurt that bad.
All right. Well, here's the deal.
Are you going to be wearing that hat, Richard? Because it'll be real easy.
Yeah, I'm bringing the hat.
All right. So we're not going to say on air, in recording what it is going to be, but we'll talk off recording, come up with something. If you heard this podcast, and I guess if you remember, because it's we're going to release this well in advance of VMware Explore actually happening. But if you remember, and if you find us at VMware Explore, we'll have a cool ITR or something for you.
And we are always open to doing podcasts, interviews, discussions, because as our name states, we are the reality portion of, a lot of the very PR'd, very in the box, very, well, you got to learn
Polished.
this, you got to do it this way, and the best practice of this. No, we got horror stories, we've got war stories, and we've got friend stories. It's like, we live and breathe IT, and we'd be more than happy to chat with anything that you want to talk about. It's
Yeah.
That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. That's why we enjoy doing this. It's part of this is how IT actually operates. And sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's both.
Yeah. And while we're there at VMware Explore, we'll have to figure out where we can do it. But I'm going to bring the gear. I'm gonna bring the gear so we can, even if it's at a minimum, if it's just audio, and all we can do is share the audio from conversations back to the podcast feed. I'll bring the mics. I'll bring the soundboard. We'll find a place and we'll
I was very
talk to
happy with
people.
the setup that Nathan invented last year. I got a kick out of that. That was great. Right off the iPhones, right off the little Bluetooth speaker that we had. That was just fantastic. It worked great.
Well, I'll bring more gear, and so we'll have, we should
And
be able to do
iPhone
something.
cameras have improved.
Yeah, they have, and I've got whatever the DJI handheld gimbal thing. I've got one of those too, so we can leverage whatever device we want to use to record the video and whatnot. But anyways, if you find us, come record with us. There's gonna be a bunch of stuff in the show notes for this recording. So if you listen to this and you want to know how best to go about booking things, the schedule builder, the content catalog, we're gonna include a whole lot of links and whatnot in the show notes, probably more than we've done on any prior episode ever. This one's gonna take me a while to put together. But we've only just scratched the surface of this conference. I think we've done probably more in detail sharing on tonight's recording than we've done in prior ones talking about VMware Explore. Let's
have a
look it out real
session
quick.
where we should have a session where we just or a recording where we just basically say what not to do at VMware Explore. Wouldn't that be an interesting thing?
Oh, I think that we probably might need some help from a couple friends in the industry for that one. But there's a whole lot more we haven't talked about. vExpert is definitely something to be aware of. Second half applications are open, and that has a whole section we could talk for probably 30-40 minutes on. So I think we have enough for us to keep this train rolling next couple weeks and just put out some good stuff. But to get it all started, I think we've got plenty for tonight.
Thanks, Corey, for kicking us a little bit to kind of restart this due to some life circumstances that came into play the last few months. We are back. We are going to be doing this as regularly as we can, and we are looking forward to it. So we will be reaching back out to the folks we originally reached out to at the beginning of the year to kind of sync back up and see what's been going on. So welcome back to ITR.
I think, Richard, there's 2 or 3 that we started conversations with that just never did anything with.
Yeah, life circumstances got in the way, and hopefully everybody who listens or is in the family IT world understands that. So,
yeah, cool. Any last calls? Anything before we land this plane?
I missed you guys.
Yeah.
you are our favorite goofball there, sir. All right,
play us out.
This has been another great episode of IT Reality.
We are everywhere, so pick your podcast app. You can also find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter.